Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Adam Burke from bangthebook.com. We're going to be doing some more video stuff here over the next little while, trying to get a little more reach out there on our YouTube page. And of course, you can find us at Bang the Book on Twitter, and you can follow us on Facebook, Bang the Book. But we're going to try and do some more video stuff for you here, beginning with what I'm going to call the Monday mashup. Now, on Tuesdays, I'll do our Tuesday 3-pack segment with my 3 favorite plays of the night. Wednesday, we'll do a Wednesday weekend look ahead, taking a look at some line moves out there for the NFL and for college football. Obviously, we'll have to do something a little bit differently here once football ends, but we still have a good long time until that happens. Thursday, the Thursday 3-pack, as you may have guessed. Then Friday, we'll do something a little bit special here with our Friday Partay Parlay video. We'll just talk about some parlay opportunities, some things that are out there for the weekend. Probably look at an NFL teaser as well. But in this Monday mashup video, we're talking about a variety of different things. I'm going to be talking about maybe it'll be baseball one day. Maybe it'll be the NHL the next day. Maybe it'll be, the NBA or college basketball the following week. Whatever I decide I want to talk about, I'm going to do it here on a Monday because I know Mondays are a drag for a lot of people. So whether it's talking about the weekend, recapping what we saw, or maybe looking ahead to some things that are coming up here this week, that's what I'll do on the Monday mashup segment. We'll start things off by talking about the Monday Night Football game here tonight. Minnesota Vikings taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Very important game for us over at Bang the Book because we started this weekend here in 8th place in the Golden Nugget Ultimate Football Challenge. We have Seattle. Most of the field has Minnesota. So we kind of made a concerted effort to go a little bit anti-contrarian with this, or anti-consensus, I should say, with this Monday Night Football game. Turns out we are on the less popular side. Could be a very big 2-game swing for us over there in the Nugget. Hopefully it works out in our favor. But, we'll have to see how things fall here in tonight's action. We do like the Seahawks, of course, but money coming in heavily on the Minnesota Vikings here throughout the day. Down to 3 flat, 3 minus 110 out there now. Could even see +3, minus 115 on the Vikings before all is said and done here before kickoff. So a lot of people piling on the Minnesota side. A lot of influential money on the Minnesota side here tonight. Got some concerns about Kirk Cousins, who has not played well against playoff teams in his career. 3-18 straight up, 5-15-1 against the spread. Gets one here tonight in Seattle, who right now would be the number 1 wild card out of the NFC. So maybe Kirk Cousins slays some demons tonight, or maybe that Seattle running game keeps it going here and pushes the Seahawks to what would be a very important win. You talk about the playoff picture in the NFC South. Doesn't really seem like anybody wants to win that second wild card. Seahawks probably playing the best of the teams in that postseason hunt, but the Vikings, very good third down defense, quality red zone defense as well. Should be a good one here tonight, and quite frankly, whether you have skin in the game or not, the fact that the Monday Night Football game is actually watchable for the first time in a few weeks, definitely something that we all should be celebrating. I want to talk about college football bowl season here a little bit on this Monday mashup video because that starts here on Saturday, and the bowl season is very complex, very, very complicated. You have a lot of different considerations in play. Typically when you talk about college football betting, you're looking at some spot stuff, you're looking at matchups, you're obviously breaking down the statistics as well. But there are some extra added elements when it comes to the bowl games. I'll talk about those here on this segment, and also why some of those things may be just a little bit overblown. Motivation, number 1 buzzword here for the bowl season. Do the teams want to be there? Are they going to be focused in their preparations for that game? That's a very, very important element of the bowl season, something you definitely want to evaluate. Do you want to make a play based on it? Maybe not necessarily, but you do want to have that as part of your handicapping process here for these bowl games. What are we looking for in that regard? Well, what happened at the end of the regular season? Did the team lose its conference championship game? Did the team, hi Georgia, get kept out of the college football playoff in relatively heartbreaking fashion? If you've got situations like that over the course of your handicapping career when it comes to the bowl games, you want to keep stuff like that in mind. How motivated are these teams going to be there? If you're a team that's in the SEC, for example, and you wind up playing a bowl game like December 26th, December 27th, how much does that matter to you? If it's not a New Year's Day bowl game, how much does that matter to you? Or if you're not playing, a premier opponent from another conference, something like that. Got to keep those situations in mind. Now, as far as this season is concerned, I think there are some motivational angles at play in some of these games, but I also think too that there really aren't any clear motivation mismatches. I think the bowl committees and the bowls themselves that pick these teams hoping to get fans there and all that, I think they've done a very, very good job this year. I don't think there are any games that stick out like a sore thumb when it comes to motivation gaps or anything like that. So it doesn't really apply for this year in too many situations, but it is always something you want to consider when it comes to the bowl season. How much do these teams want to be there? Are they excited to go to a certain destination? Because keep in mind, one of the best things about playing college football for a lot of these guys is getting to a bowl game and going somewhere, seeing something different. You've got a team like Louisiana this year, the Ragin' Cajuns, in a bowl game for the 6th time, but their previous 5 bowl games were all the New Orleans Bowl. A lot of local kids on that team. Of course, they have to recruit within the area. A lot of those guys have probably already been to New Orleans. This year, the Ragin' Cajuns go to Orlando, to Camping World Stadium for the Cure Bowl. So you get to go to Disney World. You get to see some different things, some different experiences, and that's great for a lot of these kids that are, morphing it from college kids into adults. It's good to have those types of experiences. Can be very exciting. The Bahamas, FIU and Toledo. I live in Ohio. I'm wearing a hoodie. It's cold outside. It's gray. It's brown. It's miserable. You don't see the sun for 6 months at a time, but you can go to the Bahamas? Hell yeah, that's awesome. Maybe Toledo doesn't come out with as much of an effort as FIU does. FIU, of course, in Miami. Nice weather most of the time. A lot of things going on, a lot of things to see and do. Maybe not really the case in Toledo, and no knock on anybody that's from Toledo. I've been to Toledo a few times. I've had some fun there, but going to the Bahamas is a great thing. It's a great thing for those kids. It's a nice reward at the end of the year. We saw a few years ago San Diego State and Cincinnati playing in the Hawaii Bowl. San Diego State goes there every other year playing Hawaii in the Mountain West Conference. Cincinnati does not. What happened? San Diego State won 42-7. And again, I'm cherry picking one example, but these are situations that pop up every year in the bowl period. Maybe not as many of them here this year, but motivation, location, definitely things that you want to keep in mind. Along those same lines, in terms of location, a lot of these are truly neutral site bowl games. You probably won't have a whole lot of fan investment from the two respective programs. Now, if you're talking about a huge bowl game, Fiesta Bowl, Orange Bowl, Peach Bowl, some of these big athletic departments with, huge alumni bases, yeah, they're going to travel. They're going to go to the games. When you talk about Tulane and Louisiana in Orlando, is anybody really going to go to that game besides friends and family and like hardcore boosters? Probably not. So you got to keep that in mind too, that if you have a team that you feel like isn't sufficiently motivated for a bowl game, a lot of these teams in these early bowls are going to have to create their own energy. They're going to have to make a big play, make a big hit, something like that to get the team going. And sometimes teams have a little bit of a tough time doing that. So I think motivation, if you want to look at it as a betting angle here this year and really in subsequent years, I think it's a first half angle that you look at. Why? Because once these teams get between the lines, instinct takes over. They're ready to go. They're ready to play. I would expect a lot of teams to be better in the second half if they have questionable motivation levels, especially if you're talking about the better team being the less motivated team. Over the course of 60 minutes, the better team should be the better team. The more plays you add up, the more drives you add up, the more chances that team has to be the better team. So I think motivation angles in the first half, very, very important. For the full game, maybe not so much. And another thing you can do here in the bowl season, and I think it sets up very nicely for this, is take a full game position, take a first half position. Maybe you get a middle opportunity for the second half because you may have some of those spots where a team does decide to get it going, or maybe a coach doesn't want to lose that bowl game, shakes something up, opens up the playbook. Sides and totals, good middling opportunities in these bowl games. It's something I've had success with and something I think you can have success with here as well. But circling back to the location thing, sometimes teams just have an advantage. For example, you look at the New Mexico Bowl here this year between North Texas and Utah State. Utah State does not have head coach Matt Wells. Makes them a very tough team to back, to say the least, because they're laying a big number and they don't have their head coach. However, this game in Albuquerque, New Mexico, a little bit of altitude, and also Utah State plays the New Mexico Lobos. They go to Albuquerque every other year. They're familiar with the surroundings, familiar with the altitude. So maybe in the second half, you look at Utah State as a play. Maybe they go out there, play for the interim head coach. Maybe they go out there and play for themselves. Whatever the case may be, if this gets off to a slow start for Utah State, maybe you want to look at the second half with some of those altitude angles in mind. Of course, you've got a team like South Florida. They're playing at home in the Gasparilla Bowl, the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl, taking on Marshall. As you notice out there in the betting market, South Florida, the true literal home team here, playing in their own stadium for this bowl game, getting points. And their home field advantage has definitely been cut down in this game because, again, one of the alluring things about going to a bowl game is going to a destination and playing somewhere, seeing something different. For South Florida, kids are in their dorm rooms in the practice or, the practice time leading up, going to the same restaurants, seeing the same people. It's not as exciting. When you're at the end of a long season, and it's been a very long season for South Florida, losing each of their last 5 games. Maybe it's not a great spot for them there in the Gasparilla Bowl. Marshall, probably excited. Huntington, West Virginia, not a bad place by any means, but still cold. Wind still blows. You got that chill to the bone, but you're going to Tampa. So Marshall probably pretty excited to be going out there on the road, pretty excited to have a chance to take advantage of a team that's struggling down the stretch. And also, too, some coaches just care more about bowl games than others. They put more into the preparation period. They put more into what it means from a recruiting standpoint. Doc Holliday, one of those guys for Marshall. And again, keep in mind, these are just general betting tips that you want to look for and break down when it comes to every bowl season. Because in a vacuum, in a one-game sample size, these things may not play out. But over the long term, you should get yourself some edges, should find yourself some good betting angles to keep these things in mind, not just for this year, but also going forward. Another very important thing about bowl season here, strength of schedule mismatches. And I've talked about this on Bang the Book Radio, and you can check out my power ratings over at bangthebook.com and my bowl game lines. I have some big discrepancies and big differences in my lines relative to the market. Does that mean I'm going to play those games? No, not blind, not off the cuff, not anything like that. But we're used to evaluating these teams against their conference peers. At this point in time, they're going outside of the conference. You want to keep strength of schedule in mind because what you did with your body of work may not be as impressive if you played the same strength of schedule as your opponent. So that's one of the important things here about this bowl season. Probably one of the reasons why the MAC has been one of the worst bowl bets over the last 10 years because the MAC isn't very good. You had Western Michigan a couple of years ago in the Cotton Bowl and the things that PJ Fleck was doing there. Toledo had some good years. Ohio, for as good as they've been, they haven't won the MAC title outright in over 50 years now. The MAC just isn't a great conference. So when they go and play the top teams from the Sun Belt or run into some Conference USA teams or, on the off chance they play an ACC team or an SEC team, something like that, you're talking about a big strength of schedule discrepancy. So you've got to keep those in mind as well. You have to evaluate these teams based on who they've played. Yes, you can have some very impressive statistical profiles, and maybe those teams carry those through to the bowl games. Maybe we didn't know if they were going to or not because they haven't played anybody. But you still have to factor that into the equation. It's still something you want to keep in mind with these bowl games. And of course, you have to consider the matchups. Yes, motivation is important. Weather could be a factor. Location is a factor. Home field advantage is a factor. Players sitting out the bowl games, which is a trend that we're going to continue to see. That's a factor. Coaching is a factor. But also, at the end of the day, you're talking about 11 guys against 11 guys between the white lines. You're talking about scheme. You're talking about individual players, individual matchups, wide receiver versus corner, right tackle versus defensive end, left tackle versus defensive end. Is the running back picking up those blitzing linebackers? It's still football at the end of the day. So all of these considerations, all of these intangible things, the unquantifiable things, definitely a factor, but also you want to make sure that you're looking at the matchups. You want to make sure you're looking at the strengths and weaknesses of these respective teams, and of course, accounting for any strength of schedule differences that are out there. If you were a great run defense, but you played a bad schedule, odds are you're still a pretty good run defense, just not to the level that your statistics would suggest. If you're a good running offense and you faced a lot of bad rush defenses, you're probably still a pretty decent rush offense, but probably not to the degree that you were during the regular season. But these coaches have plenty of time to find little intricacies and nuances and all that type of stuff. So the bowl handicapping process is very, very complex. But don't lose sight of the fact that at the end of the day, these are still football games. These guys are still going to have plans, schemes, play calls, all that type of stuff. And it's going to be 11 on 11, mano-a-mano in those individual matchups. So don't overreact to the motivation things, the coaching differences, all that type of stuff. It's all very, very important, extremely important. But you also want to make sure that you're backing a team that's going to have some advantages on the field. Because if you're just going based on those unquantifiable angles, you could open yourself up to have a very difficult bowl season. So very important to dedicate your time to the bowl handicapping process. We've been doing that at bangthebook.com. We've got all 39 bowl games previewed, and we've been doing it on Bang the Book Radio as well to help you out, give you some guidelines and some tips, and sort of push you in the right direction. And you may disagree with us. You may disagree with the write-ups. You may disagree with what we talk about on Bang the Book Radio as well. And that's perfectly fine, perfectly understandable. But information means everything. You don't want to overlook any factors here during the bowl season. And keep in mind, too, with the holidays here, Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you celebrate, Festivus, a lot of stuff going on. Busy with the families, Christmas shopping, getting everything together for the house, for the holidays, all that type of stuff. Make sure that if you want to be a serious handicapper, that you're dedicating your time efficiently and effectively so that you're not missing any of these angles. And if you need our help at bangthebook.com, we are always there for you. We're going to be doing some more videos here, like I said, and then, of course, doing the shows and all the written stuff that we have at the website as well. So definitely encourage everybody to go and check that out. Also encourage everybody to go and check out DSI Sportsbook and use that BTB200 promo code. Get you a nice head start with a 100% deposit match bonus, up to $500 for the sportsbook, and the same thing for the live casino. Definitely important to be able to shop around for the best prices at all times, but especially here for these bowl games and for everything else that's going on with the NFL playoffs and if you play futures, things of that sort as well. So definitely very important here when we talk about the bowl season to utilize every edge that you have, and sometimes that includes a nice promo code at one of the online sports books. One final thing I want to talk about here on this Monday mashup, looking at the college basketball card for Monday, only 5 or 6 lined games out there. And this is a very light week from a college basketball standpoint because a lot of schools having finals, a lot of teams playing, local games against D2, D3, NAIA schools, stuff like that. Don't want the kids to travel too far because they need them focused on their schoolwork to be academically eligible for the rest of the season. So very slow week in college basketball. What does that mean for you? It means it's not a bad time to catch up on college hoops. Everyone's been very busy with the NBA and the NHL and college football and the NFL. If you want to do college basketball, you really need to start digging into it. You're maybe even past time to start digging into it, but this is a good time to do it. College football, there's nothing during the week here this week. You're going to have bowl games sporadically over the next several weeks beginning on Saturday. So you want to make sure that you're dedicating time to college basketball. If you want to be serious about it, this is a great week to do it because you don't have to handicap large segments of the card. You're just looking at what these teams have done to this point, comparing Ken Pom or Bart Torvik or Sagarin or team rankings or whatever it is that you want to use. Very good week for doing that in college basketball because you don't have to worry about handicapping the games as well. You just want to worry about handicapping the teams and figuring what they've got going on at this time of the year because we're about, 3 or 4 weeks away now from conference play really starting for everybody. And you want to look to be able to take advantage there, especially once college football is done. A lot of people are going to have that money burning holes in their virtual bankrolls or in their actual pockets that have brick and mortars. Good time here with a light college basketball workload for you to really dig in and see what's going on over on the hardwood. Again, make sure you check me out every day, every weekday on Bang the Book Radio. Got a lot of great guests. Good segment with Kyle Hunter on Monday. Good segment with Joe Everett as well. will be on throughout the week, and I'll also be doing these videos more frequently now. So hopefully you enjoy what we've got from a video standpoint, and we'll see you tomorrow for that Tuesday 3-pack video. I'm Adam Burke from bangthebook.com.